time is 11:32 p.m. And it's a late one, and I know y'all usually not accustomed to seeing me this late. But I wanted to come in and make this while this was fresh on the brain. And I titled this one, if you can see by my thumbnail, um, this is NBA players' kryptonite. And NBA players are scared of this. And it really came from me watching a clip of, I think it's called To the Baja with Raymond Felton, Charlie Villanueva, and I always forget the other guy name on the podcast. And they had Patrick Beverly on there. And of course, they've been discussing, and let me know if my audio is fine, but they've been discussing Jaylen Brown, and they were discussing Jaylen Brown. And the thing that bothers me with these NBA players, because they are the biggest, strongest, fastest. I'm talking about anywhere from 5'11", 6 feet up to, I don't know how tall Victor Wembanyama is, but he's over 7'1", right? And as big as they are, as intimidating forces as they can be, as strong as they are terrified of this thing right here. And what is that thing? It's just simply speaking up and speaking the truth. And I don't think that they are necessarily raccoons. I just think that Charlie Villanueva, Raymond Felton, I think those guys are just in line. And when they are in line, they're not going to get out of line. And for Jaylen Brown, shout out to Jaylen Brown. And to watch people like Kendrick Perkins, and you ain't gonna never forget Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is never gonna miss a chance to do his master's bidding. And I don't care. Let me say this. Let me go on record. I don't care if Stephen A. Smith have helped Cam Newton. I don't care if he helped Ryan Clark. I don't care if he showed MC Hammer how to do a typewriter. Stephen A. Smith is always an enemy to his people and an enemy to his race. I don't care if he helped these people, because that's called give a dog a bone. And Stephen A. Smith is the worst. And he warned Jaylen Brown. He said, "Do you really want me?" Because you know he always got to get in that mafioso voice. "Do you really want me to start reporting on you like this? Do you really?" Because Jaylen Brown, number one, Jaylen Brown is an intelligent black man. Number two, he speaks his mind. So I forget what general manager it was, but somebody once said that Jaylen Brown was too smart for the NBA. And that's a threat. Number one, an intelligent black man is a threat to this system. Number two, an intelligent and outspoken black man is a real threat to this system. So with Jaylen Brown being those two, that puts him against against the quote unquote system, right? And he's not afraid to speak on it. And the fact that I'm never gonna move past this, the fact that Donald Trump was able to insult Stephen A. Smith, call him a low IQ individual, and on cue, he says, "Well, he's well in the right to say that because I came for him." I don't care what it is, whether it's Jerry Jones, he's always gonna make a pass for something that white folks do. That is why people don't respect Stephen A. Smith. That is why stand up or black people with some sense or some level of conscious clarity or sanity don't respect him. It's not we try to police Stephen A. Smith's blackness. We see it on we see his skin. I think he has to be reminded. And Terrell Owens did that and said it almost seemed that Max Kellerman is blacker than you. And he said, "Time out, time out." He felt offended when he told him that Max Kellerman was blacker than him. Because Terrell Owens understands the witch hunt that Stephen A. Smith goes on when it comes to black people, right? And so the fact that these NBA players They're afraid. Like, notice when it comes to this, is what I will say about Raymond Felton and that podcast. Notice when it came to Rashad McCants, how tough they talk. See, this is what we talk about. This is because see, we are only allowed to be aggressive towards each other. We don't, it's foreign for them to be aggressive toward anybody else. It's a foreign thing. It doesn't exist. So they don't, so it's outside of their experience. They don't understand how to be aggressive or talk tough towards anybody else unless it's another black person. But notice when it was Rashad McCants, how tough that podcast was. But I listened to Charlie Villanueva, and he said, you know, basically they get scared and they're like, you can't talk like that. You can't say that stuff. Basically, shut up and dribble. Right? It's always a shut up and dribble cause. But when it comes to anybody else that looks like them, they're tough. I notice when it comes to podcasts like Gil's Arena or whatever the hell they doing over there, they sit and they just argue black greatness all day and take what bothers me is they always take away from everybody else. And I'm not dissing these NBA players, but most of those NBA players that are on their own podcast, with the probably exception of like Carmelo Anthony, they were like mid. The other guy on Raymond Felton's podcast, I don't even know his name. Right? But I will give them respect because they made it to that level. But what they're showing you is they always have to be in line. And when one steps out of line, they're gonna make sure that they're either gonna make sure they distance themselves from that NBA player or that athlete that gets out of line, or they're gonna make sure that they just don't want no smoke. And that could be the same thing, right? But interesting thing watching people like Kendrick Perkins. Because as Jaylen Brown calls out ESPN, and he gives you, and I posted a short on my page if y'all want to see it, that he was talking, and Jaylen Brown is an intelligent brother. I am proud to hear that black man speak right there, because he's not a dumb athlete, right? He's not a dumb athlete. He knows exactly what's going on. But what interests me, I spent a time talking about Stephen A. Smith, but the one that you also have to watch out for is Kendrick Perkins. See, Big Perk is just a big old stupid Saint Bernard that sits up there, and he's just a big lapdog. He's just a big Beethoven, right? And what he's doing, see, what they're doing is they're focusing on Jaylen Brown saying that that season was their best season. And they know what he meant. But see, that's not the thing to understand what he meant, because that's how narratives don't work like that. Narratives is I take what you say and I put my own spin on it. And I keep repeating my spin and I keep repeating my spin until it becomes the narrative of what you really said. But I noticed when Kendrick Perkins said, is the reason it's not his on the court play, it's his mouth. It's the podcast. Now notice all these players, Draymond Green has a podcast, does he not? LeBron James has the Mind the Game podcast where he's always constantly trying to rewrite history. Hell, even what's his name, Paul George, who needs to go to hang it up. He's on the podcast from time to time. But the podcast isn't the problem. It's what Jaylen is saying. He's not a shut up and dribble. He's not a boss. He ain't working. Get back in line, boy. I ain't like boss. I slap the black off. See, that's what you got to be a black man over there at ESPN. You have to follow narratives. and they understand Jalen Brown. And what was funny about listening to Kendrick Perkins is that, and he did the same thing when it came to Kyrie Irving. He always wants to sow seeds of distrust and tell other players how they might not be able to trust these players. He said back when we was playing in 2009, I think that was the year he said. Back when we was playing, you couldn't be in the locker room being having a podcast. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever seen Jalen Brown host a podcast in the middle of the locker room. But Perk knows that. Perk wants to sow seeds of distrust. And when he says, when Jalen Brown makes that point about that being his favorite NBA season, that's a direct shot at Jason Tatum. No, it's not. But see, once they understand they can't control you, I say this on my live all the time. When the racist white folks and the hillbillies are in my comments saying nasty things that they're known to say, and I tell them all the time, if I was speaking like Jason Whitlock, y'all would not be saying these things in my comments. Y'all would be applauding me because that's what it is. You get a pat on the head and you get a treat thrown at you. When you're saying what needs to be said. So whoever said that general manager was that said Jalen Brown is too smart for the NBA, they know exactly what it is. He's not a dumb man. That's reserved for Kendrick Perkins. That's reserved for a lot of these NBA players. That's why they can't talk anything else but basketball. Their heyday. When you listen to Brandon Jennings, all they can talk about is how they were in high school. They don't understand anything else outside of basketball. They can't give you a real take on what situational awareness or what's going on in the world. I remember when Gilbert Arenas made fun of, I think it was the South Sudan team that gave Team USA problems. I remember when Gilbert Arenas trolled them and said the most ignorant things about them. But these are the people that shape narratives. These are the people that most of us spend our time listening to. That's why your conscious level is shit, because you listen to NBA players. I hear them, but I don't. I hear them, but I don't. See, they want you to think LeBron James is what you want your players to be like. And like I always say, he still ain't never got off page one of those books that he pretend that he's reading. He'll sit up and tell you, I've heard nothing but good things about Israel. But he will project black criminality in this fear with his golf buddies on the golf course and talk about Memphis in that way. Do I understand the crime in Memphis? Absolutely. But that's what these $40 million slaves do, or $100 million slaves. That's what they do. They're paid a handsome ransom to ignore and, if need be, shit on their community. Right? So it always amazes me. So I'm not worried about people saying anything to me, because it's easy to say things about a regular black guy. See, y'all kryptonite is talking about the system. They don't want no parts of that. They don't want no parts of talking about systematic problems, systemic racism. No, that's they don't like that. Notice the cowardice that comes. They don't like that. They don't like when you talk like that. So you can't project no fear in my heart. You can't put no fear in my heart. when your kryptonite is speaking up against this system, right? So I know why they're trying to destroy Jalen Brown's image. This is a Finals MVP. Why is he being treated like he's just a guy, a jag? That's Charlie Villanueva. That's Raymond Felton. That's the other guy on that podcast. That's Patrick Beverly. No disrespect to them, but that's what they were, just guys. So they understand from the start whether you're LeBron James. So that's why I don't want to hear these people say, these dummies on the internet that's saying, why should we care about the Haitians? They've never spoke about what's happening to Black Americans. Neither has a lot of these NBA players that when they get in trouble, you make it your duty to protect them and say they're pulling another black man down. How come y'all don't care when they pulling Jalen Brown down? Jalen Brown don't get in no trouble. He's not a black stereotype because you're not programmed to come to the aid of somebody like Jalen Brown. Most of them are programmed to come to the aid of Diddy. Free R. Kelly. When you dance and continue to dance to R. Kelly's music, I judge your level of consciousness. Absolutely. See, when you say dumb things like, I separate the person, the artist from what they like to say, I separate the artist from the sin, or I separate the sinner from the sin. You know how stupid that sounds? That's like people saying, and they'll try it, but let me give you another example. I separate the Catholic priest from what he did to those little boys. I separate the pastor from what he did to those children. Right? Who plays his music still? Low functioning people. That's who. People that don't have self worth. No, I know absolutely he's not the face of that. But I'm not going to give it a pass. I'm not going to give it a pass for the sake of some music. And then here's where y'all get super ignorant. Well, you got to blame the parents. Where were the parents? I don't give a damn where the parents were. Who's responsible for his phallus? Who's responsible for his tallywhacker? But that's that programming in you to make you feel like you got to blame the parents for his degeneracy. Am I saying some of those parents are blameless? Absolutely not. But y'all don't care about those youth. Y'all don't care about what happened to those little girls. I watch people make all of these excuses and say, Cassie knew what she was with. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do you understand Stockholm Syndrome? America has been abusive to us for how long, but we can't seem to find to have a problem with it. A lot of y'all love America. A lot of y'all love your abuser. But when Jalen Brown, who's done nothing of nowhere near that, is being targeted, crickets, crickets, right? At least use your voice for something good. Don't use your voice to get behind a PO. That's MAGA. At least use your voice for something good, right? But you watch the outspoken person. You watch the outspoken person speak. You're trying to get my attention with that comment, aren't you? Ah, that's what I said. See, when you're a black man that speak up, but it's not enough of us. Y'all should be we should be standing up for them. But Stephen A. Smith is gonna take that bad hairline to somewhere else because he constantly tries to control the narrative. Donald Trump can insult him directly. Donald Trump probably could spit in Stephen A. Smith's face. And he would say, well, I deserve that. That's presidential spit we're talking. That's elite spit we're talking, right? Because what they made it was marketable for you to be a tap dancer, a sellout. And as you see, all of them they fall in line. Now mark my words. Kendrick Perkins is at a level 4 right now. But if he continues to stay on ESPN, Kendrick Perkins is going to go up. Next thing you know, he's going to be a 7. He's going to be an 8, and he's going to be on a witch hunt for his own people, right? Somebody said every one of us is different and have different experiences in the USA. Absolutely, absolutely. But see, when I speak on my experience, I get buffoonery. I get either buffoonery from people that look like me, or I get racist and I get just BS comments from the others. Everybody has a different experience. That's just like I'm gonna put it like this since you said that. That's like siblings, right? So let's say two children came from a parent. Like, okay, I'm gonna use quote unquote hood classic, Boys in the Hood. Ricky and Doughboy. Ricky and Doughboy came from the exact same mother, out of the exact same house. But their experiences with that mother were two different experiences, right? And remember the BS they used to feed us and say that's what make America great, that it's a one big melting pot. So everybody has different experiences. And according to it, it's supposed to be freedom of speech, that you're able to speak on your experiences. But how come when Jaylen Brown speaks, he's being hushed or is made to seem like he did something wrong? Same thing with Kyrie Irving. Stephen A. Smith made it his business to try to destroy, and Kendrick Perkins made it their business to try to destroy them. So guess what? I'm able to understand people's differences. It is the others that can't understand people's differences and different experiences. We're all experiencing this world just through different eyes. So if you may be a male or a female who commented that in my comments, you might have a total different experience, right? I don't know what my over there doing. You might have a total different experience, but we're all experiencing something. Does that make sense? And the problem comes is when I minimize what you're experiencing. That's when the problem comes. So this is why we're having weakness and we're producing what we're producing. Because all of this is showing the youth directly, or the future athletes, directly or indirectly, how you are supposed to conduct yourself. Right? And I had somebody in one of my other videos that I was talking about John Morant, and I was talking about Shannon Sharp. Oh, Shay Shay. Hey, Ocho. Skip. 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 And I said in one of my videos, check it out if y'all will. I said Shannon Sharp basically refuses to let John Morant's past go. And somebody commented a negative comment to me. But see, here's the thing. John Morant served his time for that stupidity. And then when I pointed out, I said, well, Shannon, didn't you get in trouble also for sexual irresponsibility? You lost big in your career and you're old. But he sits on nightcap and he sits high and he looks low. And it's subtle, but it's direct what they do. See, they have a problem with the ones that won't stay in line. John Morant's. Whether it's a behavior thing, we've seen these type of players before. Whether it was the Rasheed Wallaces. See, trading John Morant to the Portland Trailblazers, see, they send you over there to Portland when you don't behave. You know? Because I can remember watching my favorite Laker team play that team, and that team was a great squad. It had Steve Smith. I think it had Zach Randolph, Rasheed Wallace, Scottie Pippen, right? But when Carmelo was having trouble before he went and he bounced around, remember Carmelo Anthony stayed sometime in Portland, right? So what I'm basically saying, the reason we're producing such cowardice in these athletes is because they're watching the ones that come before them. They're watching the cowards that come before them. Every now and then you'll have a Kyrie Irving that slips through the crack. Every now and then you'll have a Jaylen Brown. But for the most, they are the ones that will stay on that assembly line because they don't want to mess up the bag. And that's what's being told to young black males and young black girls, young black females, but more so young black males, to ignore all of this stuff and just focus on you. And we wonder why we have such selfish athletes. We wonder why we have Terrence Crawford taking pictures with Donald Trump. We wonder why we have John Jones falling to his knees in awe over Donald Trump. We wonder why we have Mitchell Robinson from the New York Knicks that was acting like a fanboy that night he heard Donald Trump was going to be in the building. $40 million slaves. And that's teaching the youth of how to conduct themselves. Never forget I said that. Right? So I just wanted to land my plane. I just wanted to say that while this was on my mind, right? But shout out to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, you have done nothing wrong. I respect you. I respect your mind, black man. I respect your courage. I respect you being the different one. Make it cool to tell another male that you respect them. But that's me for tonight. I'll probably come back in the morning.